started the alliance. Where are you? Alliance, I saw Kosatu, SACP, here, okay, Sanko, okay, Sanko there, yeah. So it's office bearers. If you are not an office bearer, you are at a wrong meeting. Oh yes, okay, the MPs and MPLs, I'm told, you were almost fired. The MPs and MPLs, raise your hands. All the MPs and MPLs. Sputla almost raised his hand. He forgot that it's no longer. MPs and MPLs, raise your hands. I want to see where you are sitting. Okay, perfect. So if you are not in these categories I've mentioned, you are at a wrong meeting. We don't mind meeting with you, but we will call you. So if you are not in this category, because later they are going to just say to us who's here. And I'm going to take you through why we have called this meeting and why there are going to be the issues that will be tabled as they are. This is a meeting, it's not a meeting of delegates. It's a meeting of elected leaders. At some level or the other, it's elected. It's not a PGC. So it's an assembly of office bearers. In fact, we say in cadres, it's an assembly of office bearers. So I want to thank you, Deputy Chair, for welcoming the comrades here, all of them. Also acknowledge our provincial office bearers and the leadership of the province as a whole, the PEC, and those I have acknowledged already, and say to you, comrades, welcome to 2020. It started some time ago, but it's still 2020. This is the year declared by our National Executive Committee as the year of unity, socio-economic renewal, and nation building. We have called you here, as the Deputy Chair has said, to come and share with you, firstly, the program of action for this year, which will be delivered by our Provincial Secretary. What has come from the PEC and what has come from the Lekgotla. That's the first thing. What are we going to be doing this year? But I am going to also share with you an overview of what the PEC has been doing. Because some of the information I'm going to share with you is coming back when we have our PGC. Because this meeting is to help lay the ground for a provincial general council. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the political issues as we're preparing for our PGC, our RGCs, and in the case of Sidibeng, also a conference of the region, and our branch general meetings and the BBGMs. Some of the key developments you must take into account. That's what my input, and these issues have been discussed over the last year and a half by our Provincial Executive Committee. It's not all of them. The PEC and the office bearers said to me, just give us the overview of those. A more detailed political overview will be given to you at the PGC. So we are meeting here, comrades, therefore. One of the things that the PEC has already approved is a state of organization report, which is not being delivered today by the PS, is the program of action. So the state of organization report will be delivered to the PGC, and a comprehensive political overview will be delivered to the PGC. But there are important developments we must share with you. Some of the issues have to do with the introduction of the new membership system. That's why you see Comrade Nomvula here. The new membership system has wrought a lot of havoc, but it's part of the cleanup. So a lot of branches, as we speak, are not necessarily in good standing. And the PS is going to take us through this in great detail, including what is it that we are doing across the province, across the nation, as the ANC, to comb through our membership system, to make sure we have a proper membership system which can easily be manipulated. So those are some of the issues. And for that reason, there's been a delay in us having a provincial general council after the elections because we can't do so unless these branches have gone through the new membership system and everything is clear. When we meet at the PGC, it must be clear we are meeting with proper structures. We are not meeting with ghost structures and ghost branches. So all that detail will come later. I want to start by saying, comrades, that the PEC was given a very clear mandate when we met here in 2018 July at our 13th provincial conference. And that newly elected PEC's first task, we were told by our membership, your first task is to bring together this whole organization and the alliance in Gauteng and confront our opponents as we go to the 2019 elections with the sole purpose of retaining Gauteng in the hands of the ANC so that this province continues to be governed by the ANC as we pursue radical socio-economic transformation. That's the principal task you gave us. You said all the other things that are in the resolutions, do them, but the first thing you must do is to ensure that we defend this province. And as you know, comrades, we got into the 2019 elections on the back foot quite significantly. Because in 2013, local government elections, the key municipalities in this province, governed by the ANC, did not achieve a majority, a simple majority. You would know that we lost our majority in Johannesburg in 2016. We lost our majority in Tshwane. We lost our majority in Ekurhuleni. We also lost our majority in Mogale City. So when we got to the 2019 elections, there was already a prevailing period from 2016 that the pundits, commentators, and the opposition parties were baying for the blood of the ANC in Gauteng. Everybody was saying they are taking this province from the ANC. We must first say to you, comrades, that we were able to achieve that mandate of retaining the ANC in Gauteng as the governing party. It was slim, but we were able to do so. And I want you to give you a big round of applause myself, because it's the work that you did, it's the work that was done in our branches, it's our volunteers, it's our fighting forces all over the province that went out to do this work to ensure we achieve this goal. And as we speak, the provincial government led by the ANC has finalized a plan which you will hear a lot about later, and including a bit from me, but also from the Secretary about this plan. We have a clear mandate from the population, even though we have a simple majority, and we're clear what we must achieve in the next 4 to 5 years. But immediately after that as well, we were able, and quite recently, we have been able to regain the city of Johannesburg. The ANC is back governing the city of Johannesburg. And let's give the ANC a big round of applause on this. We had initially regained the city of Mogale. That's Mogale City. We had regained it initially as well. But it is important to emphasize, we don't regain power for its own sake. Whereas in Ekurhuleni, we are governing there with the coalition, but we are clear that we need to make sure that that governance there, we use our position in government to push for significant improvement in the quality of life. We want to do the same in Johannesburg now that we are back in there. It's not for its own sake, it's not for the tenders. It's for improving the quality of life and improving the pace of transformation across the city of Johannesburg. And we, as the PEC, has made it very clear to the leadership of Johannesburg, led by Comrade Jeff Makhura, who is the mayor of Johannesburg now. That's what we expect from you. In the next 12 months, we must see and feel that the ANC is significantly ramping up. There are many areas, especially in the townships, where since 2016 nothing was happening. It's not a secret. Across the city of Johannesburg, in the major townships, I have been to some of them there, where nothing was happening. Basic things like picking up rubbish was no longer happening. Cutting grass was no longer happening. Fixing potholes was no longer happening. And even in the suburbs, where the traffic lights were not functioning. So we're not in power in Johannesburg for its own sake. The people of the city must feel that the ANC is in charge there. We must sort out the city. We must clean up the city. We must ensure that we ramp up housing delivery. We must work, the city must work with the provincial government. The difficulties we have had before was to have a city that doesn't want to work with the provincial government. That city must work with the provincial government to speed up the pace of delivery and transformation in the city. We want to do the same. We have lost our mayor in Mogale City, Comrade Patrick Dipudi, may his soul rest in peace. But the ANC is preparing again to ensure that we're going to have the ANC mayor in Mogale City, again to help us achieve what we want achieved. Speed up change, speed up delivery, ensure that there is significant collaboration between the municipalities and the provincial government. We must report to you that in Tshwane, the ANC has been playing a very important role as the opposition in Tshwane. We have exposed the drastic and dramatic failures of the DA-led administration in Tshwane. As the ANC in opposition benches in the city of Tshwane, we have exposed the total and complete collapse of governance and administration led by the DA. It's not enough. We don't celebrate when there's no service delivery. We want service delivery in that city. We want to see things improving and things changing in that city.
All right, we're coming out of that event. It's called the
We want power at all costs in Tshwane. We are not desperate. And let me tell you, we are not going to hand over power. We are not going to use our votes to bring somebody else to be in power in Tshwane. We are not going to do that. We are talking to all parties to collaborate with us, to cooperate with us. If they don't want to do that, we don't mind being in opposition benches to continue the fight there. We are not going to be at the mercy of people who will put us in power and think they can use us, or who will be in power and think they can use us to achieve their own goal. If we can't get a coalition government in Tshwane, the ANC will remain in opposition benches. We are going to continue to represent the people of Tshwane. We are not desperate to be in power. It's not a quid pro quo. It's not give me this, I'll give you this. We are not desperate. We want a principled, functional coalition. If we can't get that, we will remain in opposition in Tshwane and continue the fight right there in opposition benches. Continue to raise the issues of the people of Hammanskraal. Continue to raise the issues of all the problems we have across the city. We, in different areas in the districts, including in the West Rand, one of the important things we are doing is that, having seen where there are major problems, including that we have municipalities that have a serious financial situation, and that's in the two districts in particular, the West Rand and Sidibeng. What we are doing as the ANC leading the provincial government, we are investing significantly in infrastructure in those districts. For far too long, these districts have been left to survive on their own. It is in these two districts also where we are driving the program, not just in the metros of the special economic zones, in Sidibeng and the West Rand, the program of the special economic zones to make sure there are viable economies that create jobs, to also create new cities. You will hear both from the provincial secretary And when we speak during the State of the Province address, what our program is about growing Gauteng together, the ANC-led provincial administration, and what we are doing to ensure we direct more resources and more programs, particularly to improve infrastructure and service delivery in Sidibeng and the West Rand. Because those are the two poorest districts. Those are the districts in our province where poverty and disease is more acute than anywhere else. So you are going to hear a lot when we speak during the State of the Province address. And I want to say these programs come from the ANC structures themselves. Growing Gauteng together as a plan for Gauteng was developed by the ANC structures themselves. We know where housing demand is high and there is no delivery of houses. We know where there are problems regarding specific areas of service delivery across the province, the level of unemployment. We know regions and districts in our province and localities where we need to catalyze new sectors of the economy. And we know you will see what we have in this comprehensive plan, Comrade Nomvula. This comprehensive plan takes forward Gauteng Vision 2055. That work to connect with 2030 and say 2055, based on the ANC manifesto and based on the National Development Plan. So those are the critical issues that we are taking up through our plan, comrades. But as we do so, comrades, we also need to take into account some global and national developments, very important global and national developments. So what are some of these important global and national developments? At a global level, this is 30 years, 3 decades ago, the world saw a major shift. There was a major shift in the world 3 decades ago with the collapse of what we called Eastern European socialism. The Eastern socialist states, the socialist states of Eastern Europe, we know with the collapse of the Berlin Wall, that marked the end of a very important era. Those forces that represent neoliberalism celebrated this as the end of history. And they celebrated that period as the triumph of neoliberal capitalism. That capitalism is unchallengeable now. It is on the ascendancy. It is dominant and there is no alternative. We know as a result of that, progressive policies across the globe, progressive parties, major progressive forces suffered in their outlook, in their ambitions, in their aspirations, with the imposition of a neoliberal agenda in many governments. And we know it is at that time that the ANC came to power just after that period. We know that 3 decades ago, Nelson Mandela was released from prison together with many of our leaders, and the ANC, the SACP, the PAC were unbanned. Again, 3 decades ago, in that midst of enthusiasm and great hope, we know that the world was moving in an entirely different direction. So, comrades, as we come together as a progressive movement, because the ANC prides itself as a disciplined force of the left. We pride ourselves as a disciplined force of the left. We belong to the progressive forces in the world, whose principal objective is to build a world characterized by human solidarity, to build an economies, societies where the poor are not left out, where the vulnerable and working class people are not left out, but where the working class and the poor and most vulnerable people, including women, are at the center of the development project. That's where we belong. We pride ourselves belonging to those sections of the global forces that want to build the state that must play a central role in the development of the economy and the development of society. But we know, with the triumph of capitalism, neoliberal capitalism, at the beginning of the 1990s, we suffered those setbacks. But we must say that although there was a lot of celebration by neoliberal scholars and neoliberal policymakers and intellectuals, the crisis of capitalism has never stopped. And this manifests almost every decade. We have had a major capitalist crisis. The capitalist economy goes into a major crisis. We would know the 1998 Asian economies went through a major crisis, which had a huge impact on the global economy. Almost a decade later, in 2008-9, we had another major global economic crisis. And as we speak now, some of the impact of these global developments on our economy, this global slowdown, is not just a South African phenomenon. It's an ongoing cyclical crisis of neoliberal capitalism. To sum it up, those who thought that neoliberal capitalism offers the better alternative to humanity must be ashamed, because as we speak, the level of inequality in the world has reached unprecedented levels in human history. As more wealth is created for the few, more billions of people are excluded from the means to support their own lives. So we speak in an era of increasing levels of inequality. We have rapid technological change, which, if not managed properly, can exclude another 5 billion people could be left out in the new economy. Which means, again, even there, well, though we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, we, the progressive forces, must be worried and must be agitating for an inclusive technological or digital transformation. It can leave out billions of people in the world. Least of all, it can leave out poor people, and only the global elites become the beneficiaries of this. We also have another major crisis. The existential crisis of climate change is with us. It is real, and who are the likely victims wherever there are serious problems of climate change, whether it is floods or drought or heat? Who are the principal victims? It's mainly poor countries, poor nations, and poor people all over the world, because they don't have better infrastructure to cope with that. And again, we must resist that global elites must shift the burden of climate change to poor nations and poor people all over the world. So we must confront this, especially those that are polluting, including the United States of America, which does not want to be part of those in the world who want to deal with climate change. We must confront them. It's still a progressive project we must pursue. It's an important part of this progressive project we must pursue. We must also deal with the problems that resources, world wars are now on the basis of resources, energy, water, and food. If you look at the crisis in the Middle East, the potential for the world to drift into another world war, at the back of those is those who want to monopolize the natural resources all over the world for the global, what we call global elites in specific countries in the world, including potentially elites in our own country. So comrades, when we talk of ourselves as a progressive and a disciplined force of the left, we're saying so not because it's rhetoric. There are major global challenges that are facing humanity, but we know that neoliberal capitalism has not offered humanity a better civilization. It hasn't done that. So all those of us who regard ourselves as progressive need to continue to find new alternatives. And we must insist there is an alternative. When they say there's no alternative, we must insist that there must be an alternative way of organizing society and organizing economies so that it can work for the majority, not work for the few. We must insist. That's the task of the left. That's the task of progressive people all over the world. That's the task of progressive people here in our country. We must organize the state, we must organize the economy, we must organize society in a way that works principally for the majority, not for the few. In a way that empowers the majority, not just empower the few. But we know, comrades, that one of the major challenges facing the left all over the world is that if a left party or a left movement comes to power and does not change the system sucks it up and changes it. I want to repeat. If a left party or a progressive movement, including liberation movements, come to power and does not change the system it sought to change, that system is going to change the party or the movement and destroy it, and it gets sucked up in that system. This is a fundamental thesis, and we will have to ask ourselves what it means for the ANC and the progressive countries in the world. And when a progressive party, a progressive movement comes to power and wastes its power and fails to transform the system, and the system start to suck it up and absorb it and start destroying it, you know what happens. There are two fundamental things that happen. The first thing is that that progressive party retreats into itself, and it has debilitating factionalism which seeks to destroy it. It is failing to change the system, and it turns on itself to eat itself up through a form of factionalism which destroys even the best things it ever was. That's the first thing that happens. Failure to transform the system will transform you. And when you fail to do so, you retreat to yourself. Factionalism is not just a function of bad people with bad hearts. Of course, there are bad people with bad hearts. But factionalism is also a result of a certain failure of a progressive party and movement. Think of it in all our organizations. Factionalism is not just in the ANC. It's in all. You know, I was shocked to see how factionalized the student movement is. Even student organizations of young people are so deeply factionalized. And when you ask, what are they fighting over? It's not ideology. It's not policy. It's access to resources. So factionalism derives principally in a big way the version. It's not just us, it's many progressive forces. When you fail to transform the state and society into what you wanted to achieve, you turn on yourself. You turn inward. The second thing is when you fail to transform society so that it can work for the better, for more in society, you turn to corruption so that it works for you only. You turn to factionalism, you turn to corruption, you eat for yourself. And what it does, you start taking care of yourself only. The resources that are supposed to be taking care of society, everyone wants to fill their pocket because this society is not functioning for everybody. So it is in our objective interest to make society to build an economy that works for all. Because if that economy works for all, you don't have to be sitting in branches fighting over who's going to be a councillor, who's going to be an MP, who's going to be, which have become the only avenues where some of us, and when we don't have adequate skills that will help us be able to make a living and enough opportunities for everybody, corruption becomes the means of the way to survive. So I want to say again, corruption is not just a function of bad people. I know there are bad people out there. But if we don't transform this society and this economy to work for everybody, more people are going to be corrupt. Because we must build an economy that is inclusive, that offers opportunities for everybody who wants to work hard to earn a living, not just those who, so that those who choose to be corrupt must make a choice. But the majority, so the failure to transform our economy and substantially move way beyond apartheid, which is being defended by Helen Zille, apartheid and colonialism, which is being defended by Helen Zille and de Klerk. The failure to move our society way beyond the racial and gender realities of and class realities, racial, gender and class existential realities of apartheid. Our failure to achieve that also locks our movement into a mode of survival where corruption and factionalism are the only way for individuals to think of surviving. The Provincial Conference said we must confront the demon of factionalism and the demon of corruption with the same vigor that we have defeated some of the worst excesses in our organization. So we must deal with corruption decisively, with factionalism decisively. As we do that, comrades, we must also sharpen our instruments of tackling the issues in our economy and in our society. In other words, radical socio-economic transformation must be tackled and confronted with the same vigor that we dealt with the apartheid state. It must be confronted with the same vigor that we are dealing with corruption, that we are dealing with factionalism. So these three interrelated issues are principally important. The ANC needs to build the capacity. So when we talk of renewal, we need to build the capacity of the ANC to push ahead and push decisively with radical socio-economic transformation, to build a society and an economy that offers everybody opportunities to earn a decent livelihood, and cleanse our organization and sharpen its ability to lead this change, and to do so in a way that unites our people, in a way that also follows the prescripts of good governance and clean governance. So we, as the Provincial Executive Committee, have called you here, comrades, to say one of the important tasks that we are undertaking this year through growing Gauteng together, which you will, is to seek to escalate interventions that will push through the fundamental transformation of the space in Gauteng, the different special areas in Gauteng, to be more inclusive, to thrive, to create opportunities for more people in all the 5 corridors or 5 regions. That's one of the important interventions we are making. But to also look at how we organize our state. Now, thinking of, again, neoliberalism, we as the movement over the last few years, we also fell prey to embracing some of the notions of neoliberalism. For example, that the state must be denuded of its capacity to drive fundamental change. In many areas, we denuded the state with the requisite capacity to drive fundamental change. Because in some ways, some of us were beginning to buy this notion that the market can actually deliver better to the expectations of society. And that's why when we deal with this fundamental issue of state-owned companies and state-owned enterprises, it is our view as the PEC that we must look at every SOE and ask the question, how is this SOE helping us to advance the cause of development in our economy, in our country? We must look at every SOE to answer the question, how is this helping us to build an economy that includes more people, rather than at the moment where we have too many people, almost 10 million South Africans who want to work, who can't find work. So we must repurpose our state-owned enterprises, reposition them, because one of the mistakes that of our state-owned enterprises, as we were failing to transform the economy, they became a place. They became the avenue of the comprador bourgeoisie. And I want to say comprador bourgeoisie and leave it with you. Because we are failing to transform the economy in many areas to advance, to ensure that more black people are leading in various sectors of the economy. As we fail to do that, where do they run to, these people who want to be businesses? Into the state institutions, and many of them overrun by corruption. Many of them, there is no secret about that. Overrun by corruption. We are leaving the mainstream of the economy. Where do they run to? To the state economy. And it is in the state economy that every one of them wants to have a big share of that. So as we move forward with transformation to use the state to also ensure we open opportunities in every sector of the economy for all black businesses to thrive in their own way, we must also ensure that we understand some of the problems of the last few years, that state-owned enterprises themselves were the only avenue. And then it had a huge distortionary impact on their mandate and their functioning. So we believe through our plan, Growing Gauteng Together, and we are convinced and we are committed to make sure that in the next 5 years and in this decade, 2020, we confront the challenge about what type of Gauteng economy do we want. We can't just tinker on the periphery of this economy. We can't, yes, we must talk about the township economy. It's very important to talk about it and to transform it. But we must look at all major sectors of the Gauteng economy. Where are new entrants in there? And we must confront monopolies. Monopolies, same few companies that have been making it very difficult for small enterprises to come in, because it is small enterprises that create jobs. These monopolies, we must confront them. They have a huge negative impact on our economy. We must deal with that fundamental question. We must also do the following, the land question. One of the major failures of liberation movements all over the world is when they leave particularly property relations as it relates to the land. They leave colonial property relations in place. So all the liberation movements that left colonial property relations in place, including the ownership of land, left it intact to the colonizers, the erstwhile oppressors, and not touched that. There is no way you will succeed in including the majority. And that's why for us, the land question is not a sentimental issue that you just want to own land. Wake up in the morning and say, there is my land. And go and see. It's not just a sentimental question. It's about the means for livelihood. For those, this land must be redistributed so that we can support more people, particularly in the rural areas, people in the countryside, and in the cities, use more of this land productively to enhance the building of new enterprises, to include women, particularly black people, to use the land as an instrument to create industrialization. That's what we want. So our approach to the land question is informed by this decisive need to change. The society we sought to destroy is sucking us in. We've got to change colonial and apartheid relations, which Zille and de Klerk are defending. We've got to change that. For what is a revolution if colonial and apartheid relations remain intact? If millions of people in our country remain outside the economy? What is revolution? What were we fighting for? If the owners of the means of production and the means for livelihood have not changed, just a tiny minority in society. If millions of our people cannot earn a decent income through their own hands because the instruments are shut from them. So I want to conclude on this question about growing Gauteng together. Growing Gauteng together is not just another plan. We want to confront all the challenges we have faced. The spatial economy of Gauteng, the various sectors of the economy in Gauteng. But we want to do so working in partnership with business. And we have worked very, very well with certain sectors of business in many areas. You will hear we are going to be making announcements that tell us how much investment is getting into Ekurhuleni, how much investment is getting into Tshwane. Despite the disorganization of the DA there, how much investment is getting into Johannesburg, how much investment is getting into Sidibeng and the West Rand. That's what we are going to be talking about. In partnership with certain sectors of business who have it in their own objective interest to ensure that they otherwise we will all sink. When poor people sink, the rich will also sink. And that's what we must confront as a people and as a country. But to do this, comrades, so I want to conclude by saying, to do this we need an ANC that is alive. These changes cannot happen with an ANC that is factionalized. These changes to our society and to our economy must be led by an ANC that is alert, that is alive, that is not factionalized, that's not corrupt itself. These changes can only happen if the ANC organizes itself well. That's why the theme of our Lekgotla was about how we organize the ANC to lead change, to lead governance effectively. How we organize the ANC to lead local government effectively. Because we must also admit, Comrade Nomvula, the revolutionaries messed up some way and somehow. There are departments in government we messed up ourselves. We are not the revolutionary parties in many parts of the world take power and mess up big time. We have messed up some municipalities where sewer is just flowing everywhere. Sidibeng, comrades. We know that. Where we have in some places where we're in charge, we have messed up ourselves. So we have to have a clear commitment. We can't push radical change that includes all the people if we don't clean up ourselves as the ANC. We must disinfect ourselves. We need a disinfectant. Spade, collocation. We must take out all the ticks on our bodies. We need to disinfect the body politic of the ANC. Get rid of factionalism and get rid of corruption. And we must invest in the caliber of cadres who understand the urgent task is to build society and an economy that includes all people. Not just include my family and myself. We need the caliber of cadres who understand the urgent need for changing our economy away from the relics of apartheid and colonialism, where we constantly get reminded by our erstwhile oppressors about how good apartheid was. We need an ANC that is alert, no bureaucratic inertia. An ANC that is tired is no good for change. Tired. If you are tired, you can't pursue such a tough thing called radical socio-economic transformation. We need new ideas and new energy into the ANC, including in all people. Even old people need new ideas and new energy. I know that the youth will think that they are only responsible, the only people responsible for new ideas. New ideas and new energy. It's not just you. Mzwandi, not just you. Even the old people, Comrade Nomvula, we need new energy and new ideas. So all of us need a disinfectant. We need a disinfectant and a recommitment to build the society of our dreams. A recommitment that when we started the decade of the 1990s, and in the decade of the 1980s, and in the 1970s, and in many decades before, we were struggling to change South Africa completely from what it is today. But we are not there. And this society is beginning to suck us up, bit by bit. We are getting sucked up into the way things are, to accept that no, but you can't change fundamentally the way things are. That it is normal to have a society where so many people are, to have such level of inequality. We must resist the temptation to accept it is normal to have such levels of crime. We must resist the temptation to accept that corruption is normal. And in the organization, we must resist the temptation to think that factionalism is the way things have always been and must always be. So I welcome you here, comrades, and thank you, and say to you, your Provincial Executive Committee has been working, and the PEC is working on a document. What I was saying is their ideas. It's working on a document. As we prepare for the NGC, the PGC, the RGCs, we are working on a document to help us guide and recover the full strength of a revolutionary ANC. We are working, and Gauteng must take a lead. We can't be sitting there and we can't be a province that is the playground of rascals, anarchists, and people who don't want to work in the organizational processes. We can't be that type of province. Gauteng they matter more. They organize themselves outside structures all the time. Gauteng cannot be the playground of such processes. We must be organized and organizational. Things must be done from branch to region to province to national structures. That's the Gauteng I know. That is the Gauteng I know that has always been respected. You can't have a group of people who go and meet in Ekurhuleni and you have a councillor there who decides that he is bigger than the ANC in Katlehong there and organizes marches all the time to the mayor and to the municipality in the name of the ANC and resigns from the ANC, insults the ANC, but thinks he can come back to the ANC. We can't be a Gauteng like that. We can't be a Gauteng where comrades in regions think that if you want to get a mayoral candidate from the PEC, you must organize marches. You must march every day to force the PEC to appoint people. We can't be that type of province. We can't be a province where people think that you can just undermine existing structures and do as you wish. Not under our watch. I am your leader, elected by conference. We are not going to allow this, comrades. We are not going to allow this. You will have to remove me to do that. If you want to cause chaos in Gauteng, you have to remove me, you have to remove the deputy chair, you have to remove the secretary, you have to remove the deputy secretary, you have to remove the treasurer, you have to remove this PEC. You have to remove this PEC. To get your anarchy in Gauteng, you have to remove us. We are not going to allow it. We are not going to allow people to go into Ekurhuleni and cause distraction and undermine processes. We are not going to allow people to get into Tshwane and cause distraction and undermine processes. We are not going to allow people who are not in structures to get into the West End, undermine structures and cause chaos there in the West End. We are not going to allow people to get in Sidibeng and make it difficult for the comrades to work together in Sidibeng. We are not going to allow that. We are not going to allow comrades to make it difficult for comrades in Johannesburg to work together to rebuild that city. Johannesburg, you must rebuild that city and make the ANC proud. Thank you very much.
Siyakhokhelwa la magama. Siyakhokhelwa la magama. Siyakhokhelwa la magama. There shall be order. Siyakhokhelwa magama. Let the best lead us. Thank you, comrades. Thank you, comrades. Thank you, comrades. I'll give you an opportunity for that song, comrades. We just have to do some few things. Comrades, amandla. Amandla. Qina Gauteng, qina. Qina Gauteng, qina. Amandla. Comrades, I'm going to give you an opportunity to release a powerful song.
the SABC.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to talk.
Yes, indeed. The provincial chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, David Makhura, giving what might seem like a very fiery speech and firing salvo at those who may be trying to come with underhand tactics in the politics or greater body politic of the ANC, going into how if the ANC remains stagnant and static, it will not be able to effect meaningful change to the lives of the people, and throwing shade as well to the leader of the Democratic Alliance, the Federal Council Chairperson Helen Zille, and the last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, saying they are defending apartheid. I'm going to bring in the provincial chairperson David Makhura on some of the issues he was raising. Mr. Makhura, very interesting speech that you gave, particularly around those who are trying to divide ANC in Gauteng, those who are with the ANC being factionalized, not being able to effect meaningful change in society. What's going on? What is actually at play?
Well, I think the fundamental issue that we in the ANC who are concerned about the need for fundamental change are worried about is that a divided ANC, factionalized ANC, and a corrupt ANC, those things have a relationship with the failure to change society, the failure to build a country of our dreams where millions of people are included, have the means to support life. And the point we are making here is that the ANC needs to understand that internal factional battles will only result in one thing, that we will not have we will not have the energy, the necessary organizational focus to improve the quality of life, and the people have have the legitimate right to reject an ANC that is divided, that is factionalized, that's not paying attention to their own needs. So anyone in the ANC who thinks that they can play games, they can continue to pursue divisive agendas and factional agendas and think they will benefit from that. They don't know that they are not just undermining a historic mission of the ANC, but they are playing with the lives of millions of South Africans who continue election after election to say that they believe the ANC is the principal agent through which they will realize their dreams. And here in our province, as we start 2020, it's an important decade as we prepare for the National General Council of the ANC, but also as we look at what's happening all over the world, what has happened to some of the most progressive parties destroyed by power and corruption. Some of the best revolutionary parties across the world were destroyed by factionalism, and what they used to stand for, what they used to aspire for, went down the drains because of corruption and factionalism. So we are identifying corruption and factionalism as feeding into the inability to build a country and an economy that meets the needs of all.
Is the ANC in threat of these scenarios you are drawing of all other former liberation movements?
Yes, definitely. I think a decade ago, when we started talking about organizational renewal, we pointed to what we called the sins of incumbency. What inertia, bureaucratic inertia. You get to government, you think you don't need new ideas. You you keep doing the same things. And you also very relaxed. You don't have the agency that society has. And you're cushioned from society's problems, problems of high food increases. You are cushioned from that because you are in positions of power. You live essentially on people. So the ANC does face that threat. And we're saying that as we go to the National General Council, it is important that, and in this province, I can assure you that when we make a call and identify what the real challenge and threat of the moment is, ANC members rally together. There's always a risk that there are people who run around in organizations, organizing discord and destabilizing organizations, those who may be planning to go to the National General Council to cause chaos, instead of affording the ANC an opportunity to take stock of what it has done since the Nasrec conference. There are people who may be thinking that this is a game, you see. This is about going there to dislodge one another. We say this is not about a game. It's about lives of people. And when we have the responsibility to move society to the next level where everybody, every South African feels and future generations also feel, they have a brighter future. When you are faced with that as your task, you've got to take yourself serious. So these internal battles to outmaneuver each other as ANC members, many of us have reached that level where we just say we're not for that. We want to ensure we are an ANC that takes South Africans seriously. And you will see here in Gauteng. That's why we've got these branches here. We're saying even when we get into government, in local government, it can't be about ourselves and our friends and about our families. When you have millions of people who live on the ledge all the time, crime levels are going up, women are brutalized. We have the responsibility to organize the state to confront these issues. But when there are divisions all the time and people are busy, as I say, planning to outmaneuver each other, we will basically not be focusing on the ball. And I'm saying ANC members here in Gauteng, you hear their mood, you hear their spirit. We say this is one more chance we have. We were elected here in Gauteng on a slim majority. This one more chance we have. When we are given the opportunity to make history, to make the change, to contribute to next generations, we must understand that that's the challenge and the task of the moment.
Mr. Makhura, in not so many words, you're effectively saying that there are plans afoot for votes of no confidence or to discuss leadership at the upcoming National General Council.
I don't know that. I'm not saying there are plans. I haven't heard anyone saying that. But I'm saying here in Gauteng, ANC members that we have here, branch leaders, our regional leaders, they are alert that we will not allow that in Gauteng.
What is that? What won't you allow in Gauteng?
We will not allow the destabilization of the ANC. We will not allow this debilitating factionalism. And with regard to governance, we want to ensure here in Gauteng there's clean governance. We are not retreating on that. Our members, ANC members involved in corruption, must understand the full consequences of that and then face the music. That's what we're saying. In Gauteng, and when we get into the national forums like the National General Council, Gauteng will be amongst those provinces that says, yeah, we are here for business. We mean business. South Africans are counting on us to stabilize an economy, to grow this economy in a way that brings in millions of young people and all people who are unemployed into the means to earn livelihood. So that's framing our approach and attitude to every question. So we are too busy with dealing with the problems of people to be paying attention to factions. And we will not give those factions space in Gauteng.
Where are those factions? What is that? Because you are seemingly alluding to something here, Mr. Makhura, but not wanting to say that there is something at play. There are some who are probably trying to destabilize the ANC in Gauteng. Are there plans afoot to try and destabilize this province?
My point is simple, Samkele. It's if there are ANC members all anywhere in the Republic who think that this is time to play factional games, they must know that here in Gauteng, you can hear the mood. This is not the playground of those factional games. We are serious. We are going to the NGC. We are going to any national forum structure of the ANC. We in Gauteng are serious to make sure the ANC cleanses itself of factionalism and corrupt elements and focuses on the critical, urgent task of getting this economy and this society beyond the relics of apartheid and colonialism.
Are you going to that NGC to defend President Cyril Ramaphosa?
President Ramaphosa is the leader of the ANC. Definitely, we have an obligation to make sure that the president of the ANC, the national officials of the ANC, the National Executive Committee elected at the Nasrec conference, goes there to account. But we know what an NGC is for, and if there's anyone who's planning to undermine that national leadership, they must know that we will be ready.
On the issues of Gauteng, you raised issues that you have messed up in Sidibeng. Sewage is flowing all over the place in that particular municipality. What caused for you to fail there in the first place? And admitting is the first step. But when is the effective work being done to make sure that people are living in a safe and relatively clean environment?
Yeah, and I have made this point also speaking as Premier, that even where the ANC as the governing party has failed the people, we have, as the ANC has done in municipalities where we have failed the people, ANC members must know that we are not going to be tolerant to people who get into government, into positions of government, and think that that is their time. Their time has come, is for themselves and their families. You know, we are working with national government in Sidibeng. The team of ministers, Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is leading the infrastructure side, water and sanitation. He's been doing briefings. We are working very closely with him. Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is leading a team that's helping to ensure that the intervention that is there in the municipality, the first thing, you have to use the laws of the land to ensure that you direct that municipality to to focus on the critical urgent issues. The ministers have been engaging also with the various players, including the NGOs that are organized around Save the Val. But we're also doing something very important. Let me tell you, the most far-reaching intervention in Sedibeng is to get that economy back on its feet. That economy was built on steel. The crisis of the steel industry has led to significant collapse of the regional economy. We are building a new economy. Sedibeng will have, in my term of office, a special economic zone. The Val Special Economic Zone. We are working with the private sector. We are working with the National Department of Trade and Industry to look at various sectors. We're also working with some of the big major corporations like AB and Bev, which is already in the Heineken, which is already in Sedibeng, some of the logistics companies, to create a logistic hub and essentially an airport in a special economic zone there, an airport which is just about cargo. So I am very convinced, and wait until I speak as the Premier in my other hat to hear what we're going to do there and how many jobs it's going to do. So you need to tackle the problems in Sedibeng. You need to jack up governance, which I say we are doing. MEC Maile is working with those national ministers to coordinate our efforts to fix the roads. I will also announce how many roads there, major roads in Sedibeng, the provincial government is going to be rehabilitating and rebuilding in the next 4 years. I'll also be speaking about housing delivery in Sedibeng, issues of health and education, what we are doing with some of the hospitals that are not in so good, and the schools that are not in so good shape. So a comprehensive approach to the problems in Sedibeng is to ensure that local government and provincial government work together. And again, you don't want ANC factionalism to undermine the capacity of these interventions to reach their ultimate impact and goal.
Mr. Makhura, we were in this very same venue in 2014 when you were elected as the Deputy Chairperson of the province. Paul Mashatile, now TG, was elected Chairperson. You made a resolution on e-tolls. Now on this cap that you are wearing, it's your second term as the Premier. Did you punch above your weight on e-tolls? They've not gone away. They are still here. Tito Mboweni, the Minister of Finance, says they are going nowhere. Those who use have to pay. Did you punch above your weight?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we're just waiting for the announcement on the matter of e-tolls. We have done our work, Samkel. We have done our work. We have presented a very strong case why the e-tolls have no future in Gauteng. We are waiting for the announcement.
What announcement?
The announcement will be made. You remember I said the decision will be made by the President. So that we have made a case. And we are waiting for the announcement on that. And as far as I'm concerned, we have made a very strong case.
Will it be before the 25th?
I can't tell you when the announcement will be made, but I'm waiting for the announcement.
But the President said nothing about e-tolls in the State of the Nation address. There's no greater, bigger platform than that one.
I think if you have a little bit of patience between now and when the announcement is made, you will be happy. I can assure you, you yourself will be happy with the announcement.
Is the announcement that there's going to be a new funding model between national and the province to fund e-tolls?
Wait for the announcement. I am happy that we have made a very strong case that the e-tolls as they exist, as they have existed, have no legitimacy and they are not acceptable to the people of Gauteng. And we have put a case on the table that I'm waiting for the announcement.
On FW de Klerk, what is your view with him saying that apartheid was not a crime against humanity? And are you happy with the response that the ANC has given on this particular matter?
Well, I think it is important. You heard me that we don't want to be sidetracked as the ANC. Our mission is simple. The mission of the ANC is to move South Africa to a national democratic society where there will be no semblance of apartheid and colonialism. So as long de Klerk gets confidence from the fact that when he turns around, he can see that the big part of apartheid society that does still exist. Helen Zille gets the confidence to defend colonialism because when they move around, they can see that we haven't quite moved to a point where we have destroyed the foundations of apartheid and colonialism. So instead of focusing on them, in fact, they are sparing us as the ANC. They are drawing our attention to the fact that apartheid, which they are defending, still exists. So instead of us chasing them, we must chase apartheid and chase colonialism and destroy them. They have never believed anything else. De Klerk has never believed anything else. He's always been a defender of apartheid. Why would I be surprised that de Klerk says what he says? It's offensive, yes, but why would I be surprised?
What's the way forward? What then must happen to him? Must he continue going to a democratic parliament when he yet insists that apartheid was greater than democracy?
Let me say that I know that he will not come to my State of the Province address. De Klerk nor Zille will not come to my State of the Province address.
You will not invite them?
No. I don't invite, but I know they will not come.
Mr. Makhura, last question. You speak of factions in the ANC, particularly in Gauteng. You are alluding, and your statement is very much pregnant. What is really at play in Gauteng? There have been murmurs of those whom you have said today that if people want to run amok in this province, they must remove you as the provincial chairperson, they must remove Jacob Kawe as the provincial secretary, and Panyaza Lusufi as the deputy chairperson, and along the entire collective you have led with. Are there those whom are going around trying to divide the ANC in the country? Oscar Mabuyane in the Eastern Cape has said there are those who are moonlighting and have got no regard to the constitution and are trying and working day and night to remove President Ramaphosa and are moonlighting in this particular aspect. Are those plans also afoot here?
All I can say you is that they will not succeed. Whether they are planning or not planning, they will not succeed. I say that with certainty because I know the ANC in this province and you heard the mood. We are the leadership of the ANC here. We are going to confront, mobilize all ANC members and confront any disruptors of the ANC in Gauteng. We will confront them to expose them and ensure that they don't succeed.
So the political machinations for the NGC are already underway?
In Gauteng province, all I can tell you is that people can caucus and meet somewhere in corners. They will not succeed.
Ekurhuleni seems to be supporting former President Jacob Zuma very much, and he's seen as one of those who want to dethrone the incumbent.
Leave out the issue of former President Jacob Zuma. I don't believe that what you are saying that he is involved in trying to dethrone the current president. I don't know that. I know there are issues that the former president is dealing with. Don't draw him into who says he's involved in that.
I'm saying, Mr. Makhura, there are some who are saying he's part of those.
I don't believe them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was the provincial chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, David Makhura, pretty much saying that the plans for the National General Council are underway, and there are those whom may be seemingly trying and working hard to destabilize the ANC in Gauteng, and also saying they will not be distracted by them. They are continuing with their work to change the democratic order and make sure that they are service to the people, and also saying that the last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, and the Federal Council chairperson of the DA, Helen Zille, are not invited or will not be coming to his State of the Province address. I don't know if it's a subtle jab at de Klerk being at the National Assembly for SONA.
Comidada.